Hi, it's Julie from the Scrappy Tree here, and I am going to show you using the Versamark ink pad just how to make the following Valentine's Day cards. Now, this is unfortunately a multiple attempt of making this video. YouTube told me that my video was too long the first time. Imagine that, I was talking too much. So a lot of my little extra supplies were cutting out a lot of the steps just so we can get in under the time limit. But what we got here is the Versamark ink pad used on a pink panel. In this card, the finished card is 4 inches by 5.5 inches. So I cut the pink panel about 1/4 inch, so like 3 and 3 3/4 inch by 5.5, close to that kind of range. But anyway, you can kind of cut it down depending how much white you want to show, or a different color for your background, whatever you'd like. But I took my plant panel and I took my Fiskars stamp press. So I had taken my Fiskars stamp press with a Hero Arts hexagon background stamp. I inked it up with my Versamark. Get my paper kind of even there. Okay. And then I'm just going to press down and make sure I'm getting my whole stamp. Versamark is sticky, which is no problem. And then it comes off, and there will be a little bit of the ink that you can see. And for this card, I used clear embossing powder. And when the ink is still wet, you put the powder on. And that was a little clumpy. Okay, and then you go down there. Yeah, you might be a little bit more here and there. Okay, and at this point, I would take it over to my heat gun, and I would just turn the heat gun on, kind of going in circular motions, not super close to the paper, but just enough until it got that melted look. So the clear embossing powder looks white at first, but it just darkens that cardstock up. Now, if I did not use any embossing powder, I would just have a simple Versamark stamped background, which if you don't want it to be a big focal point of your card, it's just kind of nice because it basically, just gives you a nice watermark look. And then you could just kind of put that on there, and it would be a lot, kind of quieter, tamer little background. But I wanted to be a little bolder, so I'm just going to move this off here. Okay. So, after I heat embossed it, I took my little piece of pink, and I used a Love You Forever stamp in the Versamark ink. And it's the Love You Forever stamp is from Paper Tray Ink. And while that is still wet, I'm using black embossing powder on that. Okay, and then I would heat set that. So then I would have my Love You Forever all dark and shiny. Okay, and then I took 2 butterflies from this Lawn Fawn stamp set called Flutter By. And I heat embossed those, so I stamped them with my Versamark onto 2 different color, slightly 2 different color, pink, kind of a corally pink right there. And I did the same thing as I did with the Love You Forever, and I used the black embossing powder on it. And then I heated it up, and then I cut the butterflies out. Lawn Fawn does make dies that go along with their stamp set too, so depending if you want to invest in the dies, then you don't have to cut them by hand, but otherwise it's not that bad. So I cut those by hand, and then I used some pop-ups, just some foam squares, and then I pop them up. And I should say, actually, before I put the butterflies on, after I had the adhesive on, I went and I used the pink twine, and I just tied a little bow just around the pink panel. I didn't go all around like the card itself, so I just used it on the pink panel. Okay, so once I got the ribbon tied, then I put my butterflies on top, and then I took this heart washi tape from Doodlebug, and I placed that on the bottom. I just tore off a length, just whatever I thought looked nice. So you can do the same. And then for the finishing touch, I added a Prima Say It in Crystals heart. And they are adhesive backed already. And then I just kind of played with their placement, and I used a pink and a red one. So those are our cards today using the Versamark ink. And I'll have something else to show you using Versamark in the future.